only requires 3 ingredients, so as long as you can gather up those ingredients, it should be pretty easy to do. So to start us off, our first ingredient is going to be a type of bittersweet chocolate. I have 2 varieties here, right here. I have some Icelandic chocolate and some Ghirardelli. Both are bittersweet. The Ghirardelli is 60% cacao, and the Icelandic is 56% bittersweet. Our second ingredient is going to be some heavy whipping cream. going to take our chopped chocolate and place it into a little bowl here. Now your next step is going to be to add your 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream into a saucepan. And you're just going to heat up that cream until there are just little tendrils of steam whisking off of the top of it, so that it's just at a hot temperature. You do not want the cream to be boiling, and you don't want it to be lukewarm, so just keep heating it at about a low heat or a medium-low heat, I would suggest, until little tendrils of smoke begin to come off the top of it. So I'm just going to take my heavy cream here, and I'm just gonna open it up and I'll pour it into my measuring cup. Now I suppose you could also just microwave this, but I actually don't have a microwave, so I always use the stovetop. So once you've gotten all the little droplets of heavy cream out of your measuring cup, I'm just going to go ahead and close that, and that can be put aside. Okay, so we've got our saucepan of whipping cream, and if you guys would head into the kitchen with me, we're just going to go heat it up. right here is so perfect. Just look how silky and creamy this is. I kind of just want to eat all of it right now, but I won't. Now, our next step is going to be to chill all this chocolate in the fridge for a little while. I'm thinking about, I'll try 20 minutes or half an hour, but you just want the chocolate to be chilled to consistency where you can handle it in your hands. And you can kind of like scoop it out of the bowl with a spoon or like a melon baller or whatever. And as you can see, it's getting a little more solid as the time goes on, but I imagine that this would be phenomenal to dip fruit in just by itself. So, you know, if you're making this and you get to this stage and you think to yourself, I just want to eat this like it is right now, kind of like I'm thinking right now, well, then by all means, I say go ahead, because this is beautiful and so delicious and so simple. It's just chocolate and cream and that's it. And it just produces this beautiful chocolate ganache right here. If you were to dip fruit in this, like pineapple or strawberries, bananas, whatever, I'm sure it would taste phenomenal. But since I'm doing a video about truffles, what I'm going to do is pop this in the fridge with a little plate as a cover. And I'm going to wait about half an hour, I think. Once we get back, it should be a little bit more solid and chilled. And hopefully by that time we'll be able to handle it. And we'll be able to roll it in some cocoa powder. And that'll really just be the last step, and then we will have our truffles. Now, my only advice about chilling it is just not to wait for too long. Because if you wait too long, then it almost becomes too solid, and it kind of like breaks apart as you're trying to form it into a ball for a truffle. So that's what happened to me the last time I waited a bit too long. So if you're gonna do this, I just recommend kind of checking in on it, seeing where it's at, because you do want your truffle to be, you know, chilled enough that it maintains its shape and it's a solid, yet just not too solid that it starts to break apart as you're forming it. Okay. So I'm going to get its plate on it, I'm going to pop it in the fridge, and I'll see you guys in a little while. Okay, so I actually decided to go with plastic wrap. Okay, so it's been a couple hours. I think it's been, let's see, about 3 hours or so. And I will just go ahead and take off this plastic wrap for you guys and show you what we've got. Okay, so as you can see here, in that time, our consistency has hardened quite a bit. You can kind of hit it with the back of the spoon. So each one I'm gonna make about, I don't know, half of this teaspoon size. And this is the part where it gets a little bit messy, so be careful. This is why you want to have the chocolate be kind of firm when you start it off. And already you can see that it's melting, so we want to go fast with this. So as you can see, this part is a little bit messy, and that's why it's so important to ensure that your chocolate is in more of a solid state to begin with. And you're just going to roll the chocolate into bite-sized little spheres. It can really be any size that you like. I just like to do them a bit smaller since this is already a small batch of ganache to begin with. So by doing smaller little truffles, I can get more of them, even though they'll just be a little bite size. That's fine for me. And of course, you're going to want to have very clean hands while you do this. You're also going to want to be sure that you scrape up as much of this chocolate as possible from the sides of your bowl. And if you get to the point where you finish, and you've finished getting as much chocolate off as you can always use a spoon and just lick it off. That's always my strategy when I cook. Although this chocolate is getting on my hands a lot, I do think that I made the right choice by taking it out when I did, because if I had waited any longer, I think we would have gotten to that point where it would just have have broken and cracked and crumbled when I tried to mold it together. Because I did try that once, and I waited too long, and the truffles ended up coming out like when you took a bite of them, they were just more chewy than I wanted them to be, rather than having a consistent silky texture. They're a little bit more chewy, and I didn't exactly want want you to wash your hands and you just want to lick off all the cookie dough or whatever it is. That's kind of how I feel right now. Since that scoop didn't have quite enough to make a truffle, I'll just take care of it and go ahead and eat it. Alright, so my hands are all clean again, as you can see. It's okay to get a little bit messy when you cook. At this point, we're just going to take 2 forks or spoons or chopsticks, whatever you like, and you're just gonna gently roll your truffles around in your cocoa powder here until just about everywhere on the truffle is covered. Now, you don't need to go overboard. It's up to you. You're the boss of this step, absolutely. Just try not to poke too many holes in the truffle. You can always try to cover them up a little bit, though. Okay. And then once you've finished one, you're just going to transfer it. Very carefully, of course. So once again, we're just rolling very gently. I suppose you could also do this with your fingers, but after just cleaning mine, I think I'll just use the forks for now. And in fact, I think we could have even gone away with using a lot less powder here in the dish. But I will find a use for it later. So when you add in your cocoa powder to begin with, we might be able to even go with like probably just 1 spoonful for the whole batch. Because you really don't need to use up, or you don't end up using up that much of it as you're rolling it around. I love when you're finally able to get the cocoa powder all the way around the whole thing. It's just a little satisfying feeling. If you are using 2 forks or whatever method you're using, just be careful as you transfer them from bowl to plate. If you are doing that, of course, you could just leave them all in the bowl that you use the cocoa powder with. It's up to you. pretty small. They're just about a bite size, so if you want to make a bigger batch, I would recommend doubling the recipe. That way you get about 18 truffles, and I'd say that's a pretty good amount. So I'm just going to go ahead and try one of them right now. So I'm probably going to eat all of those later. It just tastes so good. I would recommend, before you sprinkle on as much cocoa powder as I did, I'd recommend just kind of like taking a little taste of the cocoa powder. The kind I used, as you can see, is unsweetened, so as you taste the truffle at first, it's kind of a little bit of a bittersweet chocolate taste, which I have